Just recently we announced we got some Highland cattle, and I'll be honest, I'm a little embarrassed to tell you the real reason I wanted to get Highland cattle in the first place. Guess below the real reason I wanted to get them, and I'll tell you at the end of the video.
Highland cattle are very popular in the homestead world. You see them on YouTube, maybe see them driving around your county there. Why? Why are they so great? Why does everybody have them? Why does everybody want them?
We were actually surprised when we announced we got the Highlands. How many it's YouTube. I mean, you always get a bunch of negative comments. We literally didn't get one negative comment about Highland cattle, right? Like every comment was excited and positive. Homesteaders love these cows. There must be a reason, right? A reason why so many people are getting into this type of cattle. In our research before purchasing them, we've actually found lots of reasons why people like the Scottish Highland cattle, really all over the world. One of the things that's nice about them is they're an adaptable breed. And on a day like today, that's a good thing. A cold, snowy, blustery western Pennsylvanian day. As their name makes pretty obvious, Scottish Highland cattle are from the Highlands of Scotland, which weather-wise is kind of like what we're seeing today. Cold, blustery, a little snowy. That harsh climate, harsh region created this type of cattle that just thrives in tough areas, which is where a lot of homesteaders make their homestead. Places that are perhaps not perfect weather, harsh environments. It's one of the reasons they're so loved, but it's not the only reason. There's a lot of reasons people like the Highland cattle.
Because they're such a hardy animal, we don't even need to keep them in a barn, which is really nice. And for a lot of homesteaders, they're not starting out with a barn. Maybe you have a lean-to up in the field, maybe just have some hay bales set up. It's totally fine for the Scottish Highlands because they've got that thick woolly coat. They don't want to be in a barn, they're hot. They like to be outside. One thing I really want, and which is why I decided that the Highland cattle would be good for us, is I really want a cow with good maternal instinct, who's an easy calver, who, after she calves, I don't have to worry about milking her. In one study, they found that 97% of the Highland cows calving could have an unassisted birth, so they didn't need any help. We're anxiously awaiting Honeybee's calf, our mini Jersey's calf. She's a first timer, and that's something we're definitely looking forward to with these older Highland cows, is their ability to just pop their babies out and feed them, because I have a feeling we'll have to help Honeybee with some of that. The Highlands, they'll be in the field in the springtime having their babies. And we don't have to milk. Austin doesn't have to get kicked anymore from a first-time freshener.
Yeah, I'm excited to not have to do any milking with these. As I've said many times, I'm not a big fan of the milking side of our cattle operation that we're currently running. What I do love, and many of you know from watching, is the grazing element of our cattle operation. Having cows out in our pasture, rotationally grazing them. And that was one of the things that really attracted me to the Highland cattle. I went, if you remember, not too long ago on a field trip to Mac Farms. We had a video we shared. You can click there to watch the YouTube version. On Mac Farms, I was able to see Highland cattle grazing forage, which one of the things Eli talked about is they can graze off of less quality forage and thrive on that. Whereas maybe your typical beef breeds, Angus, Hereford, they might need a better quality pasture. The Scottish Highlands can get more from a less quality. And this is important because while we do have some really good quality pasture on the property, we have some new areas that we're going to be turning into grazing areas that right now have very low quality pasture. And these Highlands will help us transition those pastures into better quality feeding areas.
They're also well known for their longevity, so the cows will be producing into the teens, and they have a docile temperament.
That's good because actually one of our Highlands is in her teens. I call her the grandma. Nan is her name. And yeah, how old is Nan?
I probably shouldn't tell you.
Really? Is she that old?
13.
Oh, ish?
You said teens.
Wow, she is an oldie.
Yeah, so that'll be a good test of the longevity of the
She purchased Nan without me knowing.
the breeding ability to see when Nan gets bred back. When,
Not if. All right.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun journey to go on. They're docile. They're known for it. Let's just, as a cover our bases. Of course, in every breed, there's going to be wild, crazy cows. It doesn't matter what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So definitely seek out your breeder who you see as cows, and you're like, well, that is the temperament of Scottish Highland that I want to be seeing, a nice docile cow. In Scotland, in the old days, they'd keep the cows with them in the house in the wintertime. They'd provide heat for the family and their milk and everything right there. So they did have to be pretty calm.
We have seen comments as we were telling people we were looking into beef. People talking about, well, your mini Jerseys make great quality beef, so why are you getting a different breed of cows for beef? It's a really good question because it's true. Jersey beef is
delicious.
So good. We were looking to get into some beef cows because, like Kay already talked about, having dairy cows, when they calve, you then have to milk and have to monitor that milking. And we wanted to have some just strictly beef cows that could drop a calf and
drop a beef, a little yummy beef.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to go and baby it. That allows us to have more cows. Now, how is the beef on the Highland cattle? Funny you should ask.
This is a big reason we finally settled on the Highland, is because one of the properties of their meat is it's lower in cholesterol than a lot of the other beefs. And for us, that's important because as on our family farm, we like to be able to provide meat, chicken, lamb, now beef for other family members who live here. And we do have a family member who needs a lower cholesterol beef. So
You know who you are.
so this is for you.
Yeah, Highlands are known to have a lower cholesterol, but they're also known to have really delicious, tender beef. There's a special scale that beef has. I don't remember the fancy name, but I'll put a link below to the study they did on Highland beef. And they found it to be acceptable, beyond acceptable in tenderness.
Nice.
I do like tender
Beyond
beef.
acceptable.
So it was beyond acceptable. I feel like that's like me.
You're beyond acceptable. In what
as a
way?
husband.
Tenderness? I haven't seen the studies on that yet.
Oh,
link
you wanna
to
see
those
your
below.
data.
Link to those below for me. In addition to the meat, there's also the value in the hides. People really like the look of them, so there's a lot you can do with their hides, using for decoration, things like that.
Yeah.
Now that was one thing though, so there are cons when it comes to Highlands. They're not the perfect animal, like nothing is.
Yeah. And so that hide, while it looks cool and it's a value-added product that you can also sell, I was talking with our old butcher back in Connecticut once about these cattle, and he hated working on Scottish Highlands. He said he wanted to turn them down at the door because you had this hide which had a lot of hair, was messy to work with, and then the carcass, while you get some delicious meat, there is much less of it.
And it is slower growing.
Yeah, it'll take you a lot longer to get a finished carcass, and that carcass will be smaller. Now, look around our homestead. So much of what we choose to raise is slower growing and smaller.
Yeah.
Because it's also more hardy.
Less
and
input.
Less input. So it's something you have to choose. Do I want faster, more, but with more input? Or do I want slower, hardy, less input?
Yeah.
So.
Another thing the butcher doesn't like, another thing that is something you really have to consider before you get into the Highlands, is a very prominent feature on them, and that's their horns. A lot of cattle will have horns, so there are Jerseys with horns, Holsteins, Herefords. But for a lot of people, they'll take the horns off. So when they're babies, they'll find ways to remove the horns. Now with the Highlands, especially in this country, it's really not a popular thing to do at the Highlands to remove the horns. Some places like Australia, it is more commonly done, but still a very hot button topic. Is that the expression, hot button or hot topic button? Hot button topic? Yeah, it's very controversial removing the horns because they use them to help deal with the heat. These are the first horned cattle we've owned, so it does mean like they're not going to fit in the stanchion that we use for our Jersey girls. There's different things you have to do for them, and we have to learn to work around them. We've never worked around horned cattle before, so it's a new experience for us. And they can be dangerous. They can be dangerous just moving their heads, not even intentionally, just, you know, if you're scratching beside them and they go to hit a fly, and their horn's right there, you're gonna get horned. Or gored, whatever you call it.
I'm always more of the, I don't know, worrywart when it comes to the bigger livestock. Even just getting our mini jerseys, I was more nervous about that. Kay was the one who wanted to bring cows onto our homestead in the first place. So yeah, I was concerned about the horn element, not being familiar with how to work around livestock with horns. And I have become comfortable around cows, which can almost be dangerous if you're too comfortable around a cow, forgetting that these ones have horns sticking out to the side. You can't get too relaxed. You have to maintain respect for them.
Ooh, windy.
Walk tall and carry a big stick.
That's a Karen tip.
Not for hitting them. This was a really good tip from our good friend. Just having a stick, because it just makes you feel more confident. You're not whacking on your cattle, you're not smacking them. It's just a way to kind of extend yourself.
Yep, get some space.
And yeah, I felt better
shoulder.
today. I felt better having, just to be able to say like, hey, back.
We're getting to know these girls, which means we're teaching them our bubble. They're teaching us their bubble, what they're comfortable with. There's a dominant one and a less dominant one, so one's pushing with their horns, the other one to get away. It's not something we get in the middle of. I usually feed from the other side right now, especially being pregnant. I'm not super quick on my feet. They're not aggressive at all though, but they are excited for their food. All right, so what's your embarrassing confession why you wanted them?
I wanted them because I knew they would look so cool.
Okay, the element of seeing them in your pasture, your field, and being like, look at that beautiful animal that I am proud to have and own.
They are so majestic. They look so beautiful. I mean, look at, I'm about to cut to some epic slow motion footage. Watch this. One of the things we've learned over a decade of homesteading is you should think your animals are cool.
Yeah, you should think they're beautiful.
Just because, you know, I'll get more beef off a black Angus or something.
If that's what you want.
If that's what you think's cool, cool.
See, exactly. If that's what makes you happy when you look in your field and you see your black Angus, do
Great.
that.
If you think it's cool to have a Highland because they look cool. So this one here is Nan. She's our older one. This one here behind me, a little bit, I think, brighter color, fuller, bigger body. That's Jolene. She's younger. I think Jolene's the looker of the two, but I think I like Nan's personality a little bit more. She's the grandma.
It's so cold out there.
Oh man, it's brutal. We weren't ready for this so fast.
So far, we're really enjoying our Highland cattle.
Yeah, there's a learning curve, and we're going through it, and as always, we'll share all that.
Yeah, but they're very popular with homesteaders, and you can see the reasons why, because there's a lot of pros to having them. They've got their cons, so it's something you'll have to decide individually for your homestead if they would be a good fit.
If you want to learn more, we're going to do a live stream next week, live podcast here on YouTube. Click this box right here to join our email list. Before we do a show, the day before I send out an email warning you when to watch. You can ask questions live, and we'd love to see you at the live show. If you missed the live show, link below to subscribe to the podcast where you can listen to the recording later.
Yeah, we'll be talking about our journey in this decision-making process and kind of our thought process that went into making the decision on whether we got Highlands or not.
Good.
All right, let me bring her in.